Hey, just wanted to have a quick chat on gang stalking and surviving it and what's actually happening, like that. What do they call it? Zertzang mind deterioration program is the purpose. But I guess the most important part to mention is you're kind of placed in situations that you become fearful for your survival, and the intention is to destabilize your sense of safety. Like, that's the whole goal. I'm not 100% sure that it is that they're going to actually take you out themselves, but they certainly want you screaming from the bloody rafters that it's a possibility. So, the so called masterminds, which I look at as the bullies, like, you're being bullied and you're being voted off the island by the biggest bullies that exist. And they're making a point to ensure that there's like this worldwide network. And it sounds insane when you say worldwide, but put it this way: when my company was under attack, I basically had 150 hits on my website, and they were all from Ireland. And then so these people are quite well connected. The most recent attack that's happened to me is banking. So I have been called for fraud, for transferring money between my accounts, and basically they've cut off all access to my accounts. So everything's shut down, every single bank I've got, because I transferred between my own accounts. Like, people just be having fun, they playing with you because they feel you can. They can. And I guess without accountability being had or any attention being brought to it, perhaps they feel that they can. But the whole intention with like doing things like this, and particularly on full moons, so it's, you lose your sense of security in this world. So say once I was met with about 5 guys like hanging around their car as I walked home, but the whole intention was to get me to think, oh my gosh, if I had have done this differently, like if I hadn't have gone this way and turned this way and been gone at this particular time, I would have been attacked by 5 guys who were all just standing around a car in front of my neighbour's house but looking suspicious. And it's like, I took some footage of them, but I didn't really care about the situation because I kind of saw it building up during the day and all these clues and signs that were leading to it. But I mean, I had other stuff to do rather than be hanging around the house. And it was made to feel like so say if you've got a perpetrator and a rescuer, because in life, we're either the victim, the hero, the victim, the perpetrator. You've got that kind of dynamic going on. So it was made to look like to me that one person was absolutely didn't have my back and was perpetrating the whole thing, but then a rescuer came in and clued me up to what was going on and pulled me out of the mud. But when you actually zoom out and have a look down, you just go, that's just 2 people fucking with you, and that's 5 people who have been organised to be out the front. So you go scream, and this happened a couple of years ago, to be honest. Speaking out about it now, because why not? If this is happening to other people out there, you deserve to know that the whole intention was never going to be 5 people were going to attack you or gang rape you, or that was never going to happen. The intention was to get you to lose your sense of security in this world by fearing that, oh my gosh, that could have happened to me. But it didn't, because I was rescued. But the fact of the matter is, it never would have happened. The whole purpose of targeted individuals is to be under, it's mind disintegration. So basically, you'll start losing your keys, you'll lose this, you'll lose that. And anybody, if you're going through anything like that, let it go. You know what I mean? I don't care if it's your mobile phone, if it's your keys, let it go. Because it's a very easy way for the beginning of the whole process. It's an easy way for them to get you to lose your mind. Like, the whole purpose is to get you to lose your mind. So be keeping your mind and don't play into it. There's no need to be concerned that these types of things are happening. Oh, sorry, I got distracted there for a second. So, losing your sense of security in the world, read the game, beat the play, basically. So, circling back around to those people being out front of the house, the intended reaction would be that you would scream, oh my gosh, this happened to me, and be shouting it from the rooftops. Like, basically screaming, being dragged into a mental ward, kicking and screaming. And that's the intention behind things like that. And I know that many of you who have been in similar situations have documented all of it. And this is what I can recommend too, like, document all of it. Made several copies. And those in the know that kept their marbles through the lot of it placed decoys to allow for them to be destroyed, destroy the evidence you left for them. Okay, so that's what happened with me. I left decoys plus 10 other copies, like hard copies. Soft copies, yeah, but there's hard copies as well of everything, because you're going to find like medical records, all sorts, got tampered with. And this is a couple of years ago, so as I'm saying, I'm speaking in hindsight, but all of those records still exist. And through the whole thing, some of us have been able to hold, clarity about the whole thing and just look back and really go, you, like, horrible people, how dare you do this? And I guess I'm speaking out about it now as well, because I've got extensive things that I'm speaking about on Facebook, and it obviously offended someone because they've come for my bank accounts this time. And then I saw, because when I was speaking to the fraud team, that they've all shut down my bank accounts at the moment, and I can't access any of my bank accounts because transactions were getting reported that I have made personally between banks, and those particular transactions that I made personally with my own funds between banks are the ones that have been flagged by each of the banks. And the ironic thing is, each bank is saying that it's the other bank that did it. So I will need to check the other banks and find out why they reported that as a fraudulent transaction. And then, quite craftily, I came across like a post that's like, money laundering, they get paid 5% to put money through their accounts. And that's kind of what the lady on the phone, when I was on the phone to one of the banks, was kind of alluding to. And they've shut down that account completely. So that's electronic harassment. And I can only imagine that I'm also getting electronically harassed on this one too, because I go between 8 people watching and 1 people watching. But to be honest, I don't particularly care how many people are watching. That's not the purpose of why I'm speaking. It's to speak to one person that's going through the same thing and needs to be told, you know, sometimes if you think you're being messed with, you probably are. Because otherwise, strange things wouldn't be happening like that. Now, oh, so with all of your evidence and things like that, placing the decoys to allow for the evidence, you left them to be destroyed. In my situation, sure enough, after the house was empty for 48 hours, the memory cards that I had allowed for the evidence to be destroyed, they had been moved. That's part of the game. They move your stuff to try to create this psychological disintegration. And that's what I was saying before. If you lose something, don't desperately look for it until you find it. Like, accept what's happened, and you might be in a house with somebody that isn't on your side and perhaps is working against you in that kind of way, and will say, you're always losing things, you've lost this, you've lost that. And I wouldn't actually say it's them personally, it's more an energy working through them. You know, I've kind of come to the more relaxing conclusion, and this is after years of, you know, I know where something is, I don't doubt myself about it, and it's not in the particular place that I left it, but I didn't really pay that much attention to it. To be honest, this hasn't happened for a long time, but I'm concerned for other people that it does happen to, so this is the reason why I'm saying it. It's be at peace with it, and I guess this is when it stopped happening to me, is when I was at peace with it. I kind of knew that if something wasn't able to be found at that point in time, it wasn't meant to be found at that point in time. And if things like that happen and you've got a really close connection to your spiritual self, you're able to say, well, say you're supposed to be somewhere at a particular time, or you're being rushed to be somewhere, you can actually just kind of follow your own guidance and run your own timetable. Well, I'm sure that thing will pop up again when I need it. And sure enough, it does. Like, so, because I've seen other people, you know, frantic about misplacing something like a wallet, keys, phone, handbag, whatever it is, let it go in the moment, because nothing is more important than peace of mind. And majority of people would say, well, peace of mind is having everything in its place and a place for everything, which is true. However, don't get too caught up on it, because that's the beginning of the Zert song. Mind disintegration tactics that are attempted through humiliation rituals and gangs. And there's always going to be that plausible deniability. So it's you doing it to yourself, and it's quite a spiritual thing, until you're sitting there holding all these receipts going, what do I do with these? Because I don't think the police are going to be interested in looking at them. And turns out they're not. And it's unfortunate. And I really don't believe that, you know, everybody in every corporation is involved. But it's certainly, you know, basically you can break it down like this. 1 in 10 per capita, just in my country alone, are part of a big group that exclude 9 other people. Okay, and that's 1 in 10 per capita. So in this big group are people in powerful positions. There's also, out of the 9 in 10 per capita that aren't part of these particular types of groups, well, they also stand in powerful positions as well. Are they aware of what's going on? Are they being bribed to look the other way? Or are we just so conditioned by this cancel culture of whistleblowers and the way that they get treated, and really it's all about follow the money in so many directions that people are really getting the rough end of the stick. And it's not fair, because I'm aware that somebody that didn't have the kind of spiritual, I arrived on this earth and protection, that I possibly wouldn't have been able to cope with what I was experiencing. However, cool. Or, but I mean, really? When you're within a social setting that's group, or, even here on social media, shadow banned or not seen or something like that, and you're not doing a terrible job at what you're doing, but you're not getting any feedback from it, you can kind of know that that's by design, because otherwise, and there's other platforms that you do get feedback on, and it's kind of undeniable that, yeah, you exist. But I I know for many of the beings that have been sent here on mission, that do have divine purpose, and I believe that's what it is. And if you have a look through your own work, if you're feeling ignored, and there's plenty of, say, Facebook, when that's the case, it's kind of set up to make you feel like a loser. And you think, I'm just a loser because nobody likes me, everybody hates me, I think I should just go eat some worms. Well, nah, it's probably, if you, we'll circle back around to, if you think somebody's fucking with you, they probably are. Like, kind of undeniable in those kind of situations. So anyway, going back to, if you feel something, it'll show up again, and if not, arrange yourself a placement. That's where the real work to save your own sanity, if you're going through this type of bullshit, begins. So be in allowance of whatever happens, and don't hold tight to items and things, in case peace of mind, in this case, peace of mind is becoming so absolutely unbothered and free-spirited that you come into a state of oneness with yourself and you become fearless. Plausibility, remember these words, plausible deniability. If anyone in your circle or vicinity uses those words, you pretty much identify a handler. Who stands up? And a handler is somebody who kind of handles you during your humiliation ritual, may have actually been handling you since birth. Because there are people that come onto the planet with particular missions. You're going to find people with master numbers, people number 9, people number 7, 5s. Actually, there's a lot of numerology numbers that are here to do some pretty important things, to turn the tides, and it is really intimidating to those who have really thrived during the Piscean Age of Darkness. And as we're coming into the Age of Aquarius, those that have survived the Piscean Age of Darkness are really bringing a lot into the light now. Like, I can't look at social media now and not see somebody making comment on the type of things that I speak on. So whilst in the Piscean Age of Darkness, I visually saw somebody get put through the same kind of torture mechanisms that I did and actually care too much about what other people thought of them, and ended up being put in a mental hospital. That's the really disturbing thing, isn't it? Like a perfectly sane, intelligent human getting put through such rigorous psychological abuse that they end up screaming, there's witches and warlocks and all sorts after me. And they have people in their life discussing that with other people and really looking down at them like they are crazy in our world. When you can even look at the language, English language, and say, geez, in those languages, isn't it? Like, where are we now? We're at the weekend. What does the weekend mean? And why would it be called a weekend? You know, I don't get too much into that because actually I think away the power or the intensity of these so-called spells that get put on the population by constantly acknowledging it and removing the power from it. Simple, like frequency kind of exchange there, but so once you basically, it's kind of like the power structure. So say you, to be put in this kind of position, to be in a humiliation ritual in the first place, kind of being voted off the island, unpopular, not welcome here, in these larger structures that work through, say, they harvest most of their, because it's soul trafficking, that's actually what they're attempting to do. And that works through, actually, I swore I wouldn't go into this thing. Soul trafficking happens for the churches and things like that. Many of us have been, unbeknownst to us, put up for a life of servitude, poverty, and invisibility. And many of us have just had to deal with that. Whereas those of us that are now aware of it can remove that. And I have noticed a massive shift in my energy because I kept calling my energy back to me, cleared and cleansed. Oh, and previously in the Piscean age of darkness, when this type of thing would happen and you'd be rising and doing really well in life, you'd get stomped very hard to attempt to throw you back down into lower timelines. But as I say, with the age of Aquarius coming through, that's less and less even a possibility. I mean, yeah, all the fun with my bank accounts this weekend, but really, I don't miss them right now. It's kind of like losing or misplacing an item at this point. Just let it go. It's like with the bank accounts. Oh, I go for it, but it doesn't really bother me. I got food, I got water, I got shelter. Yes, I can't access any of my money, but the financial situation that you actually placed in when this type of situation is happening, yeah, it's not that flush anyway. So honestly, I don't know who you're trying to upset, but who stands up? Well, this is a huge question. So 9 out of 10 per capita aren't involved in this kind of humiliation ritual abuse that happens to a very large it's a large percentage of the population. No, I don't know that. I couldn't say that it is because I don't know anybody else personally who's been put through the kind of pressure that I have, except for somebody who I witnessed this happen to who's very close to me 15 years, no, it must be 20 plus years ago now, and still is in a mental health system that isn't serving the best interest of the people with mental health. And ironically, when you think about it, that's a decent person that got put into hospital after massive pressure got put on them. When the truth is, the people who were applying this kind of pressure and coming up with these insane tactics, no different to what I have witnessed personally and just gone, and it's recognizable because over a 20-year period, it's not like these tactics have changed. It's not like they've gotten new tactics to kind of mess with people. They're just replaying old, tried and tested tactics that have worked for everyone. Because, of course, people are screaming and shouting from the rooftops how unjust and unfair it is that they're being electronically gang stalked, harassed, bullied, targeted, like now I think, it's really coming clear that this type of thing is happening. But who's going to be held accountable? Like, who stands up for those persecuted by these self-loathing, greedy icks that, the evidence means nothing yet here on these realms. Or does it? Does the evidence provided, so say, who do you tell? Who's interested in holding them accountable? All we've got at this stage is spiritual justice. And wow, can I just say, it is real. So, divine, natural, cosmic, universal laws, these all do play a part. And you know that these deletes believe in them because they feel that they have to disclose this, and this to us, so they feel that they can get away with it because we know about it and we're not actually doing anything to stop it. Well, many of us are, and many of us are saying we do not consent. And we, from 2020, when the earth grids, the false grids started to shift, one thing we have been able to do is scream up into the higher realms and call down from, say, basically, they held such a tight leash over the people that they wanted to control that the Watchers now have Watchers because they had everything so stitched up down here on this earth that the higher realms actually had no idea that those that they sent down on mission were actually experiencing these kind of dramas, which actually, when I'm speaking on this, I'm speaking very abstract. So in the spiritual sense, they are finding that there's ramifications, and there is, because balance must be had. There's universal law of balance. And the balance for so long in the age of knowing that we are now, which is the age of Aquarius, we'll know. Whereas the age of the Piscean age of darkness was, it's when the Middle Ages happened, and it's also, we didn't know, we had to have faith, and that's when we got intercessors placed between ourselves and God and everything that was spiritual to us. We had a religious person stand in between us and say that they were necessary for us to be able to connect to God or be with God, or and it's quite concerning in many ways. Like, how can crystals and everything that actually comes from Mother Nature, the earth, everything that God actually placed on this earth in the creation of the earth, how could that be demonic and evil when it not be looked at that drinking the body and blood of somebody that walked this earth was, yeah, you know, you're doing, basically they're doing blood binding rituals every time that they go take these communion sacraments. So it's a good idea to do a declaration and actually, I mean, it's not saying, oh, don't believe in Jesus, but I'm sure he doesn't want you to eat him or wipe his blood. The Pharisees are the ones that hurt him. That's the truth. But also, that's possibly quite why me knowing and saying that type of thing is probably also why all of my bank accounts are shut down at the moment, and there is a threat that I'm going to be. I was solicited on Instagram or something for a 5%, you know, it's just bullshit. And yeah, no, I don't think I'll be dealing with that. Basically, people call it chosen ones. And a lot of the ones that are standing up there and saying, chosen ones, this, that, they don't know what it's like to be chosen, you know. And they speak on it, but I don't think they've been through it. You know, many of them haven't. But the humane, and many of them actually part, it's particularly in the spiritual community, many of them are actually part of these humiliation ritualistic pranksters, and they're not really getting away with anything. I mean, that's already been seen visually and it will continue to happen. They go nowhere after here. The plans to destroy anyone, whether it's to off them, literally, which I definitely was initially placed in situations like that. And it kept coming through to me like it was all being set up by this jealous female and this or this couple. And it's like, if there was a girl, and it comes through as well that there was a girl who was in a church scenario that's like basically jealous of me or people like me and other people that this is happening to, and just gone for broke. And actually, I don't really resonate with that. I don't think we'll take it down that path. Good to see no one else is listening. So these people, the plans to kind of destroy another and think, oh, there's an innocent looking being, I'm going to destroy them, ha 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 ha, like, or take their sanity. The people who are taking some sort of pleasure or satisfaction from it, they're probably the ones who actually need to be in the mental hospitals, and we should probably start seeing a shift of who the actual patients are and take out the ones that have been purposely placed or put in situations, because you can bet your bottom dollar with the mental hospitals at the moment that we've got across the country, there is not one person that's in there because they've had everything easy and cruisy. More than likely, there's massive amounts of abuse that have happened to get them in that state where they are in a mental hospital. And it's also like kicking out if somebody loves you, and this is your support system around you, if they love you and you tell them something, if they're supportive of you and they're the type of people you should have in your life, they are never going to turn around and go, you're crazy. Oh, you've lost it. Oh, and just accuse you of being a nutcase because you're saying things that are possibly true. I mean, they do say that thing, don't they? Say everything as a joke because the jester is the only one that can go around and say the truth. So I admit I do try to have a bit of a dark humour attached to what I'm actually saying here. And what is that? It's all for entertainment purposes only. And it's just opinion. Nothing I am saying here needs to be taken as fact. But the weirdos that are taking some sort of satisfaction or pleasure from putting you through bullshit scenarios, like basically putting a whole mob after you. And it all starts from somewhere. Was it an individual or is it a whole group? Because I don't think it would be just one jealous auntie has sold you out to the, what are they called, Presbyterians, or, you know. Anyway, they all use plausible deniability, and there's a massive gap between, so say you've got the people at the top that are apparently pulling the strings, and they're also the ones that have control of your phone and stuff like that for the electronic harassment. And say with the bank account thing, they would be in control of doing that. And between them, there's a handler. And if they're not making use of the handler, well, they are though. And the handler is the one that organises boots on the ground. So I don't know. I do admit that many of us chosen ones would have to feel quite popular. I'm popular. I'm popular. Like, because they've gone out of their way so hard to try to make you feel unpopular, but then they'll have weirdos following you about. But many of you have got such beautiful hearts. I even know one of you had somebody follow you and sit really close to you, but it was a young person and they looked worried because what they were doing was a shit thing. But it's only in hindsight that you looked back and thought, oh, if that was an attempt at, ganging, having people following you around, it was pretty, it was pretty cute because a guy in his early 20s, say, came up and sat really close and had a worried look on his face the whole time, following you from point A to point B, but could have just been walking on the same, he could have just been walking on the same journey. And I think that's what you assumed. But because of the worried look, you looked at him and felt compassion and even wanted to say, do you want to stay with us and act like you're with us so you're not alone if you're feeling concerned that you're in danger for being on your own? That's the kind of beautiful, pure heart that you've got. And anyone that has and really there's been a massive, massive smear campaign to make sure that people don't know that about you, that you are that gorgeous and that pure. Because honestly, that's gorgeous. I mean, you look back in hindsight and go, oh yeah, it started back up again. Because when this happened initially, what you're going to find with these boots on the ground people, and I wouldn't say that, I mean, if he was a gang stalker person, it would be a little bit of a surprise because although he looked so nervous and stood so close, that possibly what you were doing was a really generous thing for him, and you kept an eye out and made sure that he was okay while he was looking at you and kind of, yeah. possibly following you, but possibly not. Like, people can just be walking in the same direction and going the same way. But there are a few things that clued on to, yeah, possibly it wasn't that. But previous to that, the majority of these people, because this is, I think in America they call it RICO and stuff like that, they're criminals that are organising this type of thing. The irony now is, say in my neighbourhood, where the boots on the ground, I don't believe that they're happening anymore, because the people who were part of the neighbourhood watch and the harassment and things like that are no longer being paid their gift cards, and that's how they get paid. So the money descends. So say if you really are a person that was SA'd in actually I probably won't go there. I don't need to take it too far, do we? But let's go back to the actual people who are perpetrating this type of terrible behaviour. They must truly be facing some ish within, and that's going to stagnate them here on the earth when all is said and done. I think many of them talking about like, oh, black holes and stuff like that. Yeah, they can go sit in a black hole for millions of years or for eternity, because spiritually, it doesn't just end when you die, it doesn't. We go on. We are eternal beings. I don't know why I'm finding it hard to speak on that at the moment, so I'll just let that one come. I'll just let that one go for the moment. But we'll come down here to Earth. Basically, the ones that particular individual or particular groups have gone out of their way to actually try to take the energy of and take the destiny of and take the mission of, which they never can. They're just turning it into money, like making money when, say, it's healing energy that a particular soul was brought down with them. They're just turning it into something else. And some of us got targeted. And was it purposely? We got targeted as children because events happened that were miraculous. And instead of being like, oh, wow, that person can go and heal the world now, because I know me personally, I healed my vision within 24 hours. But obviously it wasn't me. It's who I'm connected with. And those of us that are connected to the divine, because there are so many lost souls, would you call them lost souls, dark souls? This is the reason for the Epstein Isles and all the people eating the babies, because they want to tap into that divine energy. And they feel that they're not able to. They feel that disconnection from God. And the further they feel away from God, the more they feel they have to take it from innocence or purity. And that act of how you felt about that young man following you, and you wanted to make sure that he was okay, that's purity. That's something real and genuine that you've got within, that these people that are perpetrating these type of things don't have, and that's why they're coming for it. And it's quite sad. But the interesting thing about some of you is you're actually judgment makers, and some of the information that you've put out back into the higher realms since 2020, and 2020 was when things really shifted, and that's when the age of Aquarius came in, and you are probably one of the All right, pause. I'll pause this part and probably not say that, but like 2020 was when the age of Aquarius started coming into being, and these dark forces, because they've wanted to keep all of this hidden for so long. If you'll wind yourself back to, this is the dawning of the age of Aquarius. It was supposed to happen in the 1960s, but a ritual was done in Australia to prevent that from happening, and it was basically they harnessed all of the energy that the Beatles created when they came for their concert tours, and screaming, that eerie screaming that was heard in the 1960s, but all of that was loose. That was really potent energy that was able to be used by those in power, the magical forces, the people who know how to siphon energy and know how to use it. And basically they were able to push back the age of Aquarius from becoming embedded into our reality with all of that energy. And they did quite well with it because they kept it all the way to 2020. And 2020 was a massive shift within the planet. Many of you will remember things like not being able to get hand sanitizer for the end of, I got told by a lady at Priceline, she's like, oh, our shipments didn't come in for hand sanitizer in September of last year, and that's 2019. So leading up, there are all these signs pointing to, oh, we're about to have a game played on us. And I remember sitting there in the seat and watching it all unfold on the TV. We were watching Italy and being told about Spain, I think, at the time, and they were saying it was like 10,000 people a day, and it turned out to be false footage, or I'm not sure, but I remember sitting there, and then I heard Mr. Gates come on, you know, the one who's married to the guy from The Fish Called Wanda. They've been traveling all around. Yeah, it's quite evident it's him, it's not a woman, but... And I'm not transphobic or anything like that, and I'm certainly not jealous of trans women. I embrace all, you know, all people, all walks of life. And I won't be swayed by media feeding us information saying that these particular group of people are trying to do this to us. Although I am saying that there is a particular group trying to mess with a lot of you amongst the population. There's 1 in 10 per capita, actually. And not all of them have the kind of clearance that would even make them privy to the kind of information that you possibly know. You know, there's going to be many that just wouldn't even know that this type of thing happens. But there are also going to be the ones that know and are at a high enough degree to be able to know that, yeah, they were able to stifle the age of Aquarius from coming through for X amount of time. But now that we are in the age of knowing, we all know now too. And that is the age of Aquarius. And of course, that's going to see a change in structures. It's going to see a shift in things where truth is coming to the fore. Like, these are just the realities of what is happening at this point in time. So anyway, those of us that can tap into our past and have fully awoken to who we are on this earth and what we are here to do, like, there's no denying it. So we came here ready to free y'all, because the cries for help coming from Earth are real and felt across universes. And that is also why at this particular point in time we are being looked at by the rest of the universes. You know, like, it's not just like, wow, this galaxy, the evolution and the shift that Gaia is experiencing at this point in time is intense. And what I was actually trying to say about the energy, because I've heard other people repeat it, but it's the energy of Mother Gaia at the moment that's shifting. And basically, it's not actually going to be able to sustain the life forces that are really dense. And that's the ones that are completely disconnected from God. And as each of us are kind of rising up into our light bodies and moving with Gaia as she is getting older, her density is shifting. So naturally, she's moving up in vibration. And that's not something that can be stopped. It's not like the age of Aquarius and we can, you know, do this and do that to hold the energies back. Like, no, you can't halt the age of a planet, and it really doesn't matter whatever they're doing with all the timelines and things like that. There's nothing that they can do to actually stop her from rising in vibration. So that's just going to be a natural occurrence, and it's not actually going to hold the density. So, I mean, consider coming over to the light side and rising in density with her. Like, I mean, that's all you can really recommend, because we've got another, how many X amount of, I think you'd be pushing into the hundreds, thousands of years where we're going into this golden age. I mean, it's only logical that, yeah, all right, you were with the dark for so long, but God, it's time to turn back to God. You know, we've got so many people walking in the wrong direction, they need to turn around and start walking back to God. Because, yeah. So, anyway, as I was saying, the cries for help, they were real and they were felt across universes. And it was known that we needed to come down here. So, most of us are star beings, twinkle, twinkle, and couldn't care less about what happened, what happens to any of them after everything that they've been doing. Earthbound permanent souls have a particular character traits that are undesirable, to say the least. No, the last paragraph was just to take that one step too far for the normies. Look, I don't care anymore. I cannot hold meaningless conversations about the weather and connections or any opportunity to push the normies further that way, down the road, far away from me, is fine with me. I'm not the type that wants soulless, pointless discussion about the weather, or if my spiritual abilities are looked at as strange or whatever the normies say. So, yeah, I don't really want to talk about politics except to say, are you still participating and why? Nice day we're having. Yes. No. No, I'm not interested in those normal conversations. And ironically, since I said that and since I really fully felt that, I have had the opportunity to do a few things that have been, you know, normie conversations. And while, yeah, one of them was just like, oh, you are able to be in contact with the other side, yeah, and spoke about somebody crazy they knew and said, yeah, they were able to do that too. When mediumship is it's even a profession. To be a medium and to be able to commune with the other side isn't that weird, but yeah, we can make out that that's crazy to be able to do that. I think it's particularly with people who have known you for a long time. So say like my relative or married into the family relative had lost a relative of hers, and I had that relative come in contact with me, but I couldn't actually, because the deterioration of the relationship had actually gotten so bad, and it had been so one-sided since the beginning. When you realize, oh, look at all the effort that you've put into it and what's been returned, it doesn't really equal out. So, you know, I wasn't able to communicate or be the go-between. But, oh, I did have her relative harass me, and not harass me, but say, come on. And I'm like, no, you gotta go. Because they already treat me as if I am crazy. But yeah, when I said it to another normie, it made me feel silly about it. And it's like, wow, you would even probably watch a medium on TV, or if I did have a message for you from the other side, from someone you knew, you'd probably be glad to get it. But the irony of that is they'd never tell you. It's like when my auntie recently died, randomly I got, I'll be seeing you in those old familiar places. You know, the Frank Sinatra song, I'll be seeing you. And I passed the message on to her, you know, who it was for, and they only got angry. Like, it wasn't like, oh, thank you. It was more like, why do you get that? Which felt yuck, you know. It's like, these people, particularly if they're in your bloodline, they all have these same kind of abilities as well, and they chose not to pursue that path. They chose to go down a different path. And I think actually in many cases, me and people like me have actually opened people's eyes to the fact that, oh yeah, God does exist. There really is a God. And whilst it's not up to him to stop starvation in the world, it is a divine responsibility to start coming in and restoring that balance that's been way too far out of whack for way too long down here. And that's initially why majority of the souls that are of the new earth kind of vibe have come into the planet, because we're here to help. That's what we came for, and we'll all be doing it. Wow, speaking for an hour, one like. Well, that was just today's podcast. I do plan to be back many, many a time. Will I actually save this one or leave it up? Don't know. I have a beautiful day. It says here I've had 0 people watching the whole time. I've had no comments, and I've had I've got 1 like, so thank you very much for that. But that's not really what where my focus is. So this whole ostracizing and making particular individuals feel like they're worthless and it's all pointless and they should just give up and go and eat some worms. Yeah, I think you guys can shove that up your clapper. It's not why I'm speaking.